Hey everyone, welcome back to BugNoJutsu. Today, we're diving into a really interesting bitwise problem from LeetCode. It's called Longest Subarray with Maximum Bitwise and problem number 2419. At first glance, it might feel like a complicated bitwise trap, but trust me, once we understand how the AND operation behaves, the solution becomes beautifully simple and efficient. Let's break it down step by step. You're given an integer array called nums, and your goal is to find a non-empty subarray. Remember, a subarray is a contiguous sequence of elements, such that the bitwise AND of all elements in that subarray is as big as possible. In other words, out of all possible subarrays you can form, compute their bitwise ANDs. Then, find the maximum AND value, and return the length of the longest subarray that gives you this value. Seems tricky? Let's look at an example to make it clearer. Let's take the input array 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 2. We first identify the maximum number in the array, which is 3. Why are we doing that? Because no subarray can have an AND value greater than the highest number in the array. Remember, in bitwise AND, every new number either keeps the value the same or brings it down. Now, our job is to find the longest subarray where the AND of all elements is equal to 3. Looking at the input, we can see that the subarray 3, 3 has exactly this property. The AND of 3 and 3 is still 3. Any other combination, like 3, 2, or 2, 2, would drop the AND below 3. So the correct answer for this input is 2, because 3, 3 is the longest subarray with the maximum possible bitwise AND. Here's where the logic becomes clean and powerful. Since we know the maximum bitwise and we can get is equal to the maximum number in the array, we shift our focus entirely toward that number. What we do is loop through the array and count how many times the maximum number appears consecutively. Because any break in that streak, any number that's not equal to the maximum, would reduce the AND below the target. As we go, we keep a counter that tracks the current streak of maximum numbers. If the current number is equal to the maximum, we increase our streak. If it's not, we reset the counter to 0. Along the way, we maintain the length of the longest streak we've seen. By the end of this linear pass through the array, we'll have our answer, the length of the longest subarray where every element equals the maximum, and hence, the AND is also maximum. In terms of performance, this solution is excellent. We only loop through the array once, so the time complexity is O(n), where n is the length of the array. We also don't use any extra space beyond a few variables for tracking the maximum and current streak. So the space complexity is O(1), constant space. It's optimal and handles large inputs efficiently. This problem is a great example of how understanding bitwise operations, especially AND, can lead to elegant simplifications. A key insight here is that as you keep AND ing more numbers, the result can only decrease or stay the same, never increase. That means the best AND you can hope for is just the value of the highest number in the array. Another takeaway is how problems that seem to require complex logic, like checking all subarrays, can often be solved with a simple pass once you identify the right property to track. It's also a classic case of converting a seemingly brute force problem into a linear time solution using mathematical reasoning. And that wraps up today's walkthrough of LeetCode 2419, Longest Subarray with Maximum Bitwise AND. If you enjoyed the explanation or learned something new, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment letting me know what problems you'd like to see next. This is BugNoJutsu, signing off, and as always, keep coding, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.